Hello, I'm Dale and welcome to the JeepSolid Garage. Today we're going to be changing the transmission fluid on my 2012 Jeep Wrangler JK. It's overdue for a fluid change, so let's get to it. Here I've gathered most of the supplies I'm going to need. I've got my new ATF Plus 4, that is what is required from my Jeep, a new filter, a new gasket for the transmission pan, and the tools I'm going to need. I got a 5/8 inch socket, 10mm socket for my transmission pan. Some transmission pans require a T27 Torx bit. If you don't have a T27 and that's what your pan requires, be sure to order that. I'll be sure to include Amazon links for all these supplies in the description below. Check that out, get your stuff ordered, and let's get to it. And underneath the Jeep, the transmission pan is located right there behind the exhaust there and kind of underneath this cross member. If you'll notice, it's angled down in the back a little bit. This cross member we can actually leave in place. This one is gonna kind of be in the way. We're gonna leave it in place, but we do need to disconnect it from the transmission. There's 3 bolts that we gotta undo so we can lift up our transmission a little bit. The issue is there's not much gap between the transmission pan and this cross member, so we can't quite get that pan off without raising it up a little bit and giving us a little bit more room. So there's 3 bolts to undo. Let's go ahead and do that. And working from the passenger side here, there are 2 bolts underneath this cross member. There's one up in there and the other one there. We're going to undo those 2, and then there is one more over on the driver's side, kind of up in the cross member. So back over here on the passenger side, I've got my bottle jack there with a little block of wood on the transfer case. And I'm gonna use that to jack the transmission up just like 1/2 inch, not real far. We just need enough space to get that transmission pan out. And here's a little tip. I've got a piece of foil here because my jack stand was kind of in the way a little bit of my drain pan. I really love this drain pan. This is like an oversized drain pan because when we open up this transmission pan, it's gonna start leaking all over this cross member and just gonna run all over the place. So to try to contain it as best we can, get yourself one of these big drain pans. I'll put an Amazon link in the description below for that as well. And then this foil will try to help keep it off of my jack and just run it into the pan. Let's see how this works. Now there's 6 bolts on this transmission pan, 2 in the front, 2 in the middle, and then 2 on the back. I'm just gonna loosen the front ones and the middle ones a little bit, and then the back ones I'll take all the way out because I want most of it to drain out the back just because that's the way it's naturally tilted. And this front passenger one does have 1 extra bolt over this little shield that needs to come off as well. All right, we're draining pretty good. I just got those, so the 2 front bolts loosened just a little bit, middle ones just a little bit. The back ones, once I start undoing them most of the way, well, actually maybe not even most of the way, part way, it really starts leaking out here. We're gonna let that drain for a while. Seems to be catching pretty good. I've got just a little tiny bit of spillage, but a pan down underneath to catch anything. We're gonna let that drain for a while and then we'll remove the bolts the rest of the way. Then once it's mostly drained, we can remove the bolts the rest of the way. Now these bolts, each one has a little bracket on the end of it, a little notch there that catches the edge of the pan, so be sure to get that little bracket with it. Let's try to slide the pan out here. That exhaust is just barely in the way. I jacked up the transmission just a little bit more. Oh, and we made a mess. Yeah, I know, Tootsie, that's terrible, huh? I don't know if the camera caught it or not, but yep, I made a big mess there. The edge of the pan caught on it as I was trying to pull it out, but no big deal. That's what they make this stuff for. So now the pan is free and clear, and then there's the filter right there, and it just pushes on. There's a little O-ring that keeps it in place. Now I'm gonna clean up my mess a bit and we'll get to the installation. All right, we'll get the pan cleaned up and the magnet that's down in here. There's a little bit of goo on the magnet, nothing out of the ordinary. We'll get that all cleaned up, get rid of this old gasket and filter. And brake parts cleaner works really well for your final cleanup. Now we can fit our new gasket in place. Now let's put our filter in place. Let's grab just a little bit of transmission fluid and get it on the O-ring here so we're not pushing that O-ring in dry. And then on your filter here, there's a little stud right there. That little stud has to fit into the notch right back there. So make sure you get that notch lined up, and then it just pushes into place. Next, I'm gonna go around and just make sure the gasket surface is all nice and clean all the way around. And now I can fit the pan back into place. All right, I got the pan in place and a couple bolts just holding it. The pan will fit up really easily and flush against the transmission. If it feels like it's tipping, if it's not going up snug, nice and easy, then your filter might be not seated correctly. When we're putting the bolts in, of course, we're gonna have little brackets on there. Make sure those grab on the lip of the pan. We'll get all the bolts in and then we'll go around and torque them down. I also wanted to mention, as you're putting your bolts back in place, be sure to go all the way around your pan, looking at the gasket real good, making sure that it's seated real nice in place. Because as you're pushing the pan in place, it can very easily become dislodged, so double check that. All right, I got all the pan bolts back in place, and when you're torquing them, torque them down alternating sides. You want to snug it down evenly. Torque them all to 71 inch-pounds, but look up the specifications for your transmission. You got to be very careful because these bolts are going into an aluminum block and it's very easy to strip it out, so don't over torque it. If you run into trouble, one of my bolts was a little loose, so I had to actually go to the hardware store and get a bolt that was 1/4 of an inch longer, and that gave enough bite to snug it up good. Obviously got my bottle jack out of the way and the 3 transmission bolts, where are they? Here they are. The 3 transmission bolts back in place. Those are all tight. Sprayed it down with a little bit of degreaser because we're going to watch for leaks real good, and now we'll go fill it up. Now my old fluid that I drained out, I poured it into an empty bottle, and I can see that it took just a little over 4 quarts. So with my new ATF plus 4, I know I need to put at least 4 quarts in it. We'll do that and then check the level. And the transmission dipstick is right back there. We're going to fill it up in that spot. Get our funnel. We'll put 4 quarts in. All right, we got about 4 quarts in there. I really need a better funnel for this, but we made this work. A couple catch rags down there for the little bit that we dribbled. So now on my dipstick here, we have a hot level and cold level. See if I can show you that real quick. So there is a cold level and hot level. So the transmission is cold right now, so obviously we're going to be in the cold level right now. You got to check the transmission fluid with it running. So we'll get the rags and funnel out of the way, put the dipstick back in its spot, and then we're going to start the Jeep up because we have to check the transmission fluid with the Jeep running. But you want to cycle through reverse neutral drive a couple times just to get fluid moving everywhere. Put it back in park with it running, and we'll check the fluid level. It should be in that safe cold zone. If it's not, we'll top it off, add a little bit more fluid. Then I'm going to take the Jeep for a drive, get it up to operating temperature, and same thing with the Jeep running. I'm going to check, make sure that it's in that safe zone when it's hot. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helped you out. If so, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. And if you have any tips or tricks that'll help other people out, leave a comment down below. Love to read those. Thank you guys so much and have a good day.